You're leaving town in 2 weeks. Maybe it's work, maybe it's your mother's, maybe it's just you finally taking a few days for yourself. And you already know exactly what's going to happen to the food situation while you're gone. Pizza the first night, drive-through the second. Somebody orders delivery on the third night and tips a stranger $4 to carry a bag from a car to the door. By the time you're home, your family has spent $150 eating worse than they eat any other week of the year. It doesn't have to go that way. I'm going to show you how I fill a freezer with 10 dinners in one weekend dinners my family can put in the oven with zero cooking skill, zero questions, and zero phone calls to me. 10 trays, 5 recipes doubled, and each tray feeds a family for about 2 nights. That's the better part of a month covered. And here's the part that surprises people. I spend less on groceries the week I do this than a normal week. Not more. Less. I'll explain why in a minute. First, the 3 things that make this whole system work, because the recipes are the easy part. The system is what people get wrong. Number 1, foil pans. The disposable kind, the 9x13s, about $1 a piece at the grocery store. Yes, I know, I'm the woman who tells you not to buy disposable things. This is the exception, and here's why. Your good casserole dishes cannot sit in the freezer for 3 weeks. You need them. The dollar pan can sit in there till Christmas and nobody misses it. Buy 10, buy the foil to cover them. Done. Number 2, and if you take nothing else from this video, take this. You write the baking instructions directly on the foil with a permanent marker right on top. Lasagna, 375. 1 hour covered, then 15 minutes uncovered. That's it. Because here's the truth about your family. They are not going to call you, and they are not going to look up a recipe. They're going to open the freezer, and if the tray doesn't tell them what to do, they're ordering pizza. The tray has to do the talking. Write the temperature, write the time, take the foil off at the end. Assume the person reading it has never turned on an oven. Sometimes that's not far off. Number 3, you shop from a fixed list once before you start. Not 5 trips. 1, when you buy for 5 recipes at the same time, everything overlaps. 1 big can of crushed tomatoes covers 2 recipes. 1 bag of cheese covers 3. 1 package of ground beef, bought in the big family pack because it's cheaper per pound, splits across almost everything. That's why the batch week costs less. You're buying ingredients, not meals. There's a difference. And the grocery store knows it even if you don't. One more thing before the recipes. You do this over 2 days, not 1. Saturday, you cook the meats and the sauces. Sunday, you assemble and freeze. Anybody who tells you to do 10 meals in one afternoon has never done 10 meals in one afternoon. Split it. Saturday, your big pot of meat sauce simmers on the stove while the slow cooker runs on the counter and the meatballs bake in the oven. 3 things cooking, and you're just standing there stirring one of them. That's the trick. Everything runs at the same time, because none of it needs you every minute. By the way, this whole system, and about 100 more like it, I finally wrote down in a book. Every method I use to run this house for less, all in one place. It's on my website, links right below the video. Go grab it. I won't bring it up again. All right, the 5 recipes, doubled into 10 trays. I picked these on purpose. They're all pasta and casserole heavy. And that's not laziness. That's because pasta bakes and casseroles are the things that come out of a freezer tasting like they were made that day. A frozen chicken breast reheats like a shoe. A frozen lasagna reheats like a lasagna. Work with the freezer, not against it. Trays 1 and 2. Lasagna. The backbone of the whole freezer and the one your family will fight over. Here's mine, and here's where I save you time and money in one move. Do not boil the noodles. Don't buy the special no-boil noodles either. They charge you extra for less pasta. Regular dry lasagna noodles straight out of the box, layered dry. The sauce and the freezing soften them completely. I've done it for years. Nobody has ever crunched. Your meat sauce is the big Saturday pot. 2 pounds of ground beef browned with an onion, then crushed tomatoes, tomato paste, garlic, salt, a spoon of sugar to take the edge off the tomatoes, and let it sit on low for an hour. Make it big. This same pot feeds the lasagna and the spaghetti trays later, so you're building 2 recipes with 1 pot. That's the whole batch cooking idea in 1 sentence. Layer it in the foil pan. Sauce, dry noodles, ricotta, or cottage cheese, which is cheaper, and honestly I can't tell the difference once it's baked, then mozzarella, and repeat. Go a little heavier on sauce than you normally would. because the dry noodles drink it up. Cover it raw. Don't bake it first. You freeze it unbaked, and it bakes for the first time the night they eat it, which is why it tastes fresh instead of reheated. On the foil, 375, covered 1 hour 15 from frozen. Uncover 15 more. Done. 2 pans, because if you're making 1 lasagna, you're a fool not to make 2. Same mess, same counter, twice the food. Trays 3 and 4. Sour cream noodle bake. If you've never had this, it's the casserole your grandmother made when she needed to feed a lot of people on a little money, and it's better than it has any right to be. Egg noodles, a pound of ground beef in tomato sauce, and the middle layer is sour cream stirred into cottage cheese with some chopped green onion. Layer it like a lazy lasagna noodles, the sour cream mixture, the meat sauce, cheddar on top. Now, this is the one place I break my own no-boil rule. Egg noodles you do cook first, but only halfway. Pull them out while they've still got a real bite to them, because they finish cooking in the oven later. If you cook them all the way now, they'll be mush by the time your family bakes it. Halfway. Set a timer, 5 minutes, drain them. This one's on the list because it's cheap. Really cheap. A pound of beef stretches across a tray that feeds a family twice. When the beef pack is split 5 ways across the weekend, this recipe is barely costing you anything beyond the dairy. On the foil, 350. Covered, 1 hour from frozen. Uncover for the last 10 so the cheese browns. 2 trays, trays 5 and 6. Chicken enchiladas. Here's where I save you real money, so listen close. Do not buy the rotisserie chicken for this. And do not buy those little pouches of pre-cooked shredded chicken that's chicken with a labor charge stapled to it. Buy chicken thighs. Bone in if they're on sale. Saturday, while your sauce is simmering, they go in a pot of water with salt and half an onion, simmer 40 minutes, and then the meat falls apart with 2 forks. Save that pot of broth, by the way. That's free soup base you just made by accident. Freeze it in a jar. Shredded chicken, a can of green chiles, some of the cheese rolled up in tortillas. Flour tortillas, not corn. I know somebody in the comments is going to tell me corn is traditional, and they're right. But corn tortillas crack and turn to paste in the freezer, and flour ones hold up. I'm making freezer food, not entering a contest. Line them up in the pan, seam side down, pour enchilada sauce over the top. The canned sauce is fine. It's one of the few canned things that is covered with cheese. On the foil, 350. Covered 45 minutes from frozen. Uncover 10. 2 trays. And this is the one my kids always ate first, so make it well. Quick word here on the freezing itself, because this is where people ruin good food. Air is the enemy. That gray, dried out, tastes like the freezer burn that's just air getting at the food and pulling the moisture out of it. So you press the foil right down onto the surface of the food, no air pocket. Then a second sheet over the top of the pan. 2 layers, no gaps. They sell special freezer bags and vacuum machines for this. A second sheet of foil does the same job for pennies. And let the food cool before you cover and freeze it. A hot tray going into the freezer just steams itself and warms up everything sitting next to it. Cool on the counter, cover tight, then freeze. Trays 7 and 8. Spaghetti and meatballs. Remember that big pot of Saturday sauce? Here's the other half of it. The meatballs are the same 2 pounds of ground beef you're already working with. Mix in an egg, breadcrumbs, garlic, salt, roll them, and here's the part that matters. Bake them on a sheet pan, 400 degrees, 20 minutes. Don't stand there frying meatballs in batches like it's 1962. The oven does 40 of them at once while you're rolling enchiladas, and they brown better anyway. Now, spaghetti itself. I'm going to be straight with you, because I told you I'd tell you what a thing won't do. Frozen cooked spaghetti is fine. It is not great. It's a little softer than fresh. If your family's picky about that, freeze just the meatballs and sauce in the tray and leave a note on the foil telling them to boil a box of spaghetti. That's the one cooking task even a teenager can survive. If nobody in your house would notice, cook the pasta very firm, toss it with the sauce and meatballs, and freeze the whole thing together. Both work. I've done both. Know your family. On the foil, either 350 covered 45 minutes, stir once, or boil the spaghetti 1 box, 9 minutes. Heat this tray while it cooks. 2 trays. Trays 9 and 10. And I saved this one for last on purpose, because it's the best thing in the freezer and the least work. Slow cooker French dip meat. A chuck roast, that's the cheap shoulder cut. The one that's tough as a boot if you cook it fast and falls apart like pulled pork if you cook it slow. It goes in the slow cooker Saturday morning with a couple cups of beef broth, a packet of onion soup mix or just onions, garlic, and Worcestershire, and salt if you skip the packet. Low, 8 hours. You do not touch it. It cooks itself while you make everything else. That's why it's in this plan. It's the recipe that costs you no time because the time was happening anyway. Shred the meat and freeze it in its own juice. That juice is the dip. And it's also what keeps the meat from drying out in the freezer. Meat frozen dry comes back dry. Meat frozen in its liquid comes back like it just finished cooking. That's the whole secret to freezing any meat, and it's worth the price of this video by itself. Split it into 2 trays or, honestly, freezer bags laid flat work even better for this one. They thaw faster. Family pulls it out, heats the meat in the juice in a pot, piles it on rolls with a slice of cheese, and dips the sandwich in the hot juice. Leave the buns on the counter with a note, or tell them buns are the one thing they're allowed to buy. A restaurant charges $14 a plate for this exact sandwich. Your version costs about $2. On the bag. Heat meat and juice in a pot till hot. Rolls, cheese, dip it. Don't drain the juice. That's the point. That's 10 trays. Each one feeds a family of 4 for about 2 nights' dinner, and then leftovers or lunches. 10 trays, roughly 20 nights of eating, which, with a normal week's odds and ends mixed in, covers your month. 1 shopping trip, 1 Saturday of cooking, 1 Sunday of assembling, and a freezer that runs your kitchen without you. Now let me tell you who'd rather you didn't know this, because there's real money in you not knowing. The delivery apps make their money on exactly one thing: a house where nobody knows what's for dinner at 6 o'clock. That moment of nobody planned anything is their entire business. Every fee, every markup, every $4 tip, it all lives in that gap. A full freezer closes the gap and they collect nothing. And then there's the freezer aisle itself, which I find almost funny. They will sell you a frozen lasagna, same noodles, same sauce, less meat than you'd ever put in your own for $12, $14 in a tray half the size of yours. You just made the same thing, bigger and better, for about $5. The only thing you're paying them for is the assembling, and you can assemble. And the meal kit companies, mailing you a chopped onion in a plastic pouch with an ice pack that's the same trick with better photography. None of these people are crooks. They're just charging you rent on a skill your grandmother had for free, and they're counting on nobody teaching it to you. Well, now somebody has. So here's your first step, and it's small. Don't do 10 trays this weekend, do 2. Pick 1 recipe. I'd pick the lasagna, buy 2 foil pans, double it, write on the foil, freeze them both. That's it. Once you watch your family pull one out and feed themselves without asking you a single question, you'll do the full 10 before your next trip. I'd bet the grocery money on it. And tell me in the comments, what's your family's freezer meal? The one your mother made, the one that actually comes out of the freezer tasting, right? I read every one of these, and half my best recipes came from you people, so don't hold out on me. Next time, I'm going to show you what I do with all those bones and broth I told you to save, because there's a whole week of soup hiding in what most kitchens throw away, and the canned soup people would rather you kept throwing it. I'll see you then.